Welcome to Outbound Labs by Predictable Revenue, where we share the results of our prospecting experiments, what we learned along the way, and what it means for your team. All right, welcome back to Outbound Labs. I'm Colin.
And I'm Lavinia.
As always. And today we're carrying through our theme of personalization at scale, how to basically walking through where should you invest your time if you're an SDR or if you're leading an SDR team and you want your SDRs to get better response rates. Where's the best place you can invest your time? We only have so much time during the course of a day. And we always hear, you got to personalize, you got to personalize, you got to personalize. And so we decided to put some of these tactics to the test. And so today, Lavinia, can you talk to us about what we're testing?
Mm-hmm. Sure thing. So as you said in our intro video, internally, our SDRs found some really great results with this personalization at scale method using a LinkedIn post. So that was some initial positive validation, and obviously being Outbound Labs and loving to follow the experimental method. First things first, we were like, right, can we replicate that and find some more positive validation? So this was our first experiment that we looked at. And it was basically to find out, will this approach perform in other settings? So when we're reaching out to different personas and different industries.
Because basically this was something that was proven out by Sarah, our internal SDR here, based on Beck Collins' video. We won't go into too many details. We went into a little bit more in the intro video, the video that came out just before this one. So if you're curious, check that out. But basically inspired by Beck Collins' approach, she did a webinar with Sales Hacker where she talked about personalization at scale. That was more focused on the target accounts approach. This one was, okay, if you've got more of a wide open audience, how do you start conversations with the most relevant people? And so today what we're looking at is a side-by-side of looking at LinkedIn activity. And so finding a post and then finding thought leader posts, finding the people that engage with that post, and then personalizing honing in the messaging so that's relevant to that conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
And then versus just a regular LinkedIn campaign where we're adding people, no personalization.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So talk to me about the methods. How did we do this? How many clients? What did this look like?
Sure. So as we mentioned in the intro video, our aim here really was to learn and fail fast. So we kicked this off with 2 clients. And so we had 2 different experiments running. For each of them, the control campaign was, as Colin was saying, a regular LinkedIn campaign. So this was really looking, had the messaging focus on the standard kind of value prop, problem solved, and looking to book a call or a meeting. And it had a connection message and 2 follow-up messages. So very straightforward as far as LinkedIn campaigns go. Mm-hmm. And then our experimental campaign, this was the one where we tailored the messaging to focus on that post that our prospect has engaged with. So this is when the initial connection message referenced the post. So it went along the lines of, hi, first name, I can see that you liked Colin Stewart's post. I found this part really interesting. I'd love to chat a bit more about this as this is something obviously you're interested in. Would you be open to connecting? And we also then sent 2 follow-ups if they did connect. So it's back to that age old, we're trying to keep as many variables as we possibly can the same so we can eliminate them being the difference for our results.
Now, on the method here, you said you ran this across 2 different customers. I know we're not going to share the customer names, but were they going after the same demographic? Were they similar products? Can you give me just a high level of what we might be thinking about?
Sure. So they were actually going after 2 very different demographic personas. So one was more on the IT side, while another was more on the HR side. Okay. So 2 completely different personas, definitely.
Gotcha. So not a true split test, although we did, a test and a control within each.
Yeah. So within each client, each of the experimental and control campaigns, we were both looking for the same people to be relevant prospects. So in the control campaign, we were looking for HR personas, director and above from companies over 5,000. And that would be the same in the experimental. And then in the other client, we made sure that our targeting was exactly the same as well. So we kept it as consistent as possible where we could.
Perfect. This is one of those ones that, before I, looking at the numbers, pretty confident that the Sarah style, we'll call it the Hicks method.
No relation. It's possible though.
You're from the same island.
Yeah. It's not
or at least your families are. Yeah. And so I was pretty bullish. I mean, mainly because I've seen the results that Sarah's campaign has generated from this. And so coming into this, I think we all had high expectations.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I think the area that I thought it might fall down was just the sort of finding the right audiences, right? If we tried to replicate this into an audience where your target customer doesn't use LinkedIn, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so talk to me about the results. What did we see?
So as far as connection rates, both experiments for both clients saw a significant increase in connection rate. One had a 35% increase in connection rate, and the other had a 128% increase in connection rate, which is huge.
Massive.
Just from that initial connection message, which is, pretty stunning increase.
And so that's in terms of, that's not industry specific because it was to the same industry. Right, you're both the control and the test campaign were going to the same industry, and so in one case you had 128% increase in connection rate. Wow.
Yeah, so that was absolutely huge. So obviously connection rate is all good and well, but is it converting to meetings? So in one experiment, the one that had that huge increase in connection rate, the handoff rate booked meetings almost doubled.
Wow.
So it went from 1.4% to almost 3%. Which is crazy because it's not only increasing, it's doubling, which is what we want to see. If we can launch a similar campaign with not that much extra effort and we can get double the results, then that's the SDR's dream, right?
Mm-hmm. But you've left off the second campaign. The second customer.
I've left off the second customer. So the second experiment, we actually saw a decrease in both handoff and positive response rates. So even though we got there, we increased the connection rate by 35%, which is still a pretty good percentage. Nothing came of it. And so this is a point when we're running experiments that we really have to take a step back and look and evaluate what could have caused this. Was there something in the method? Was there something in the outreach? Was there something in our campaigns that we need to take into account before we start saying, oh no, it doesn't always work and throw the baby out with the bathwater? Have a look at how we got here in the first place. And what we did realize was that there were some limitations in the method which could have contributed to inaccurate results. So this was a case of it was difficult to manually follow up with some prospects. Some prospects weren't always timely followed up with, and just sometimes simply messages got lost, so they weren't followed up with. I think these are things that happen, but these are things that it's not to throw away the whole experiment completely. That wouldn't be right. But it's just to be aware and take that into account when looking at results, because the whole point we do this is so we can learn fast and fails fast. So there's nothing wrong with having worse results, but as long as we still learn from them, that's the most important thing.
I think one of the big takeaways here is that this isn't one of those things that's going to work across every industry.
No, not at all.
It's not one of those things where if you get any single post and just say, okay, I'm going to copy what these people did, and then I go and find one post and then do exactly the same thing, you're not going to get the same results. No. It all has to do with that sort of that relevancy factor.
Yeah,
right?
Completely.
And if you're relevant, if the message is relevant, if the conversation is relevant, if the thought leader is relevant, I think there's enough conclusive proof to say, if you find the right conversation, you're going to get a big increase. Upcrease? That's not a word, is it? I don't think
so.
No, upcrease. It sounds like something that happens when I put too much weight on in non-cycling season.
Upcrease.
You try and fit into my cycling jersey again. It's like, get out. Yeah. Yeah. Carbathlon could not come soon enough this year. But I think there's enough to say that, hey, that there is something here to this method, that Sarah wasn't crazy. She wasn't just lucky. We were able to replicate it with at least one other customer, but that it's not something that it's one of those tricky ones where it all comes down to relevance. Yeah,
completely. And it's really nuanced. So as you're saying, this method definitely has legs. It can definitely improve results significantly. So next, what we went to look at was, okay, now we've understood that we have to be a bit more nuanced with where we use this method. If we break down the whole method, how can we make it as effective as possible in the situations where it will work? And that will be the next 3 experiments that we talk about.
That's fantastic. And so we're actually going to take this method, we're going to pull it apart and look at it look at the independent all the independent pieces and see if there's one specific area where you can sort of spend most of your time.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're curious to learn more about Sarah's approach, again, as I mentioned at the top of the post here, we'll throw a link to Sarah's video in the description. So check that out there. And as always, remember to hit that subscribe and the bell icon. Noticon? My words are just gone today. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when the next Outbound Labs video comes out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.